Hello and welcome again to my YouTube channel. Ooh, that was very gruff sounding, wasn't it, when I said that there? Yeah, I've not done one of these in a while because I've been really busy with the band and all sorts of other things and stuff and life and things. So here I am. I got an amp the other day and I wanted to utilise that opportunity to do a video that I've really fancied doing in a long time. And what is that? Well, that is to compare two amplifiers that have a lot of similarities. We have here a wonderful Fender 65 Deluxe Reverb Reissue and its accompanying partner, sister, brother, incestual type situation thing is the Fender 68 Custom Deluxe Reverb. They're quite close to perfection, I'll be quite honest with you. So just a little bit of backstory. This 68 Custom is actually my gigging amp, and I've done a few modifications. I've put a neodymium creamback in it. I've also built an attenuator into this amp, and I've also had a bit of work done on the power section as well. So I've always been curious, did I get the right one? Is the 65 Deluxe, you know, better or worse? So let me explain what I've done here with this cell. I'm trying to be as scientific as possible about this. So because I've got the attenuator built into this, everything's going to be attenuated right now, and what I'm actually doing is I'm feeding both amps out to the same speaker, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be switching around the outputs of the amplifier section to run to the same speaker. So you're going to be hearing the same two amps from the same speaker, recorded off the same mic. Prior to all this, what I did was I wanted to understand which speaker I preferred. Now, the 65 DR comes with a very nice Jensen speaker. The 68 Custom originally came with a V-type speaker, which I've obviously now replaced with the creamback, the neodymium. And I'll be honest with you, the neodymium blows away the stock V-type in the 68, and to my ear it also blows away the Jensen. The Jensen's nice, but it's really bottom-endy, and not in a nice way. The reason I replaced the V-type in the 68 with the creamback was because I felt it had a flubbiness. I was having the same issue with the Jensen speaker in the 65 as I've done my preliminary investigations into these things. That's why I've chosen to go with the 68, the creamback. Were I to decide on which of these amps is the best for me, I would most definitely be putting that speaker into that amp. Let's get into it. So today's weapon of choice is this rather delectable Fender Telecaster Elite. Yes, it's very nice. Look at that. Aged cherry sunburst. Ebony fretboard. Locking tuners. Yes, contoured neck heel and all that. This thing's a beaut, isn't it? I've just picked this up the other day. It's for sale on my Reverb channel if you fancy having it. But anyway. So that's... Again, so a little bit more explanation about how I'm going to set this up, at least to start with. So I run everything at 6. That's the gain, the volume on the 68 Custom, the treble and the bass, and just have a little bit of reverb. Everything else turned off. So that's it. Just 6 on everything. So it's kind of clean, but it's got that little bit of hair on it that just gives you a nice bit of breakup. Alright, so let's switch over to the 65 and see what we think. And we'll set it up exactly the same. We'll put all the knobs and dials at all the same positions and see what we think. Okay, so we're on to the 65. Alright, straight away, more output, more volume. Reverb as well is way more excessive than the 68. Not sure what's different about the reverb tank on this 65, but there's a lot more space in that reverb. What I would say as well is, at that same sort of setup, there's a lot more breakup, not a lot more breakup, but a bit more breakup in my ears than what I'm hearing on the 68. You tell me if you think I'm wrong. So this is where I maybe think the 65 and the 68 really differ. The 68 seems to be tuned in to run at a nice volume and a nice amount of breakup, around about the 6 on the volume dial, whereas the 65, I feel like having it at 6 is maybe a bit too much and it wants to come down a little bit and run cleaner. We're down to about 4.5 there on the dial. And yeah, so the 65 is you know, it's the blackface. It's what everybody thinks about when they think of those Fender cleans, and that seems to be what it does best. Very nice. Let's give it a bit of gain and see what we think. I'm still leaning towards the 68. Why don't we swap back, right? And I'll tell you why. All right. So we're back on the 68, and again, it's exactly as I've left it. I've not changed a thing on it. So yeah, a little bit less output, of course, but I'll tell you what, in my ears, and when I'm playing through either one of them, I find the 68 to be a little bit more forgiving, and it plays along with me, whereas I feel like I'm just fighting the 65 a little bit. This whole thing has been about what I prefer, you know, and you might hear what I've done here and think something completely different, but I'm just going to put it out there. I prefer the 68, but let me explain why. I prefer it because it just, in my ears, just has a little bit more character. There's a little bit more going on in the notes. There's a little bit more. There's just something a little bit more magical in my ears that I'm hearing. It's hard to put a finger on it and say exactly what it is. Yeah, with the 65, I felt like maybe it was just compressing some part of the signal that just made it sound a little bit more lifeless. Do you know what? I'm being terrible here because these are both fantastic, phenomenal amps, and a good player will sound absolutely incredible through both of these amps, and no question, either one of these amps are perfectly good enough for any player of any standard, in any setting, studio, stage, whatever. And it's another one of those things, isn't it? The audience is never going to know the difference, but the player knows the difference, the player feels the difference, and that has a great influence on the player as he plays a guitar. So for me, I don't know, I prefer the 68. It's got a little bit lower output for some reason. I'm not even entirely sure why that is, given that they're both supposed to be 22 watts. And both of these amps run anywhere on the volume dial between 4 and 6. They're basically the same volume, but you just get a varying or increasing degree of sort of breakup on the signal. Anything above sort of 6 on the volume dial on either of them, and you're into sort of excessive breakup territory. Really, you don't need the amp to be doing that. You want the amp at the absolute sweet spot, and that for me is, if you want it clean, around 4, if you want it breaking up nicely, around 6. But yeah, both amps sound great. It's just, in my ears, the 68 just has a little bit more character to it, a little bit more voicing. I don't know how to put this, but just sounds a little bit fruitier, naughtier, sexier. I don't know how you want to put it. So anyway, yeah, long story fucking short, as people who like to talk shit for ages say. Verdict is, I prefer the 68. I'm going to be sticking with that. You can't go wrong with either. They really are. No poor choices here. They're both phenomenal amps. Both sound great. But I just prefer the 68. So anyway, thanks for watching. Goodbye.